All right, real quick pond update. As you can see, the tractor's just sitting there, the excavator. Got the outline of the pond in. All that patio concrete is gone. I marked out my sewer line over there, which is a lot further away from where I wanted the pond than I thought, so I'm really happy about that. It allowed me to move the dimensions of the pond out a little bit and make it even bigger. But what I want to talk about right now is this intake bay that I'm designing. So lots of ponds, probably this size and a little bit smaller, you would manage with a skimmer like you would with a pool. You know, it's kind of a box that sits on the end of it with a weir door that's maybe 8 or 12 inches wide, swings open and pulls the surface water in. So anytime leaves or debris or whatever gets swept into the pond, the skimmer will pull it across and into the little skimmer door. Well, that's great, but if you have trees, and I would like to someday have big trees back here, deciduous trees, in the fall they will drop a ton of debris. And so when you need to deal with that, a better idea is to design an intake bay. And it just looks a little bit more natural. Kind of just appears as part of the pond rather than this like kind of skimmer box sitting on the side of it. And so that's what I've got marked out here in this side of the pond. This will just kind of, when it's done, hopefully will just look like it's part of the pond. But essentially where so this yellow dot here is kind of what I've marked out as what I would like to be our water line. So the water will, you know, that's our water level. Now, however you dig, the water will sit level at that point. Back here is where I would dig a hole probably about 30 inches deep, and I'll fill it with what's called water matrix blocks. And they're just like plastic milk crate looking things that hold a bunch of water in them. And on the back of it will be a pump vault that's just below it. And so that this void can fill up with water, and the pump that, you know, circulates all of the water in the pond will pull water, and it'll have plenty of water to pull from this this vault that I built, that I dig right here. So that's how you solve for the water volume that you need, that you would with like a skimmer, but you still need a weir. And after talking to some folks at Aquascape who've designed a lot of intake bays, they suggest about 1 foot of weir for every 8,000 gallons of for every 8,000 gallons of water that you're pumping. And I'll be pumping probably around 5,000 to 8,000, so I'll do about a 1 foot weir. And so that's where this comes into play. You only want to skim the surface of the water, right? The thicker of the amount of water that you're trying to skim, the less effective the skim is. So you only want a tiny little bit of water being skimmed. And so that's why this will be a shelf here, right? The pond will fall down into, down into here, and it will fall on the other side of this, and this will be a little shelf that holds the water at about 6 to 8 inches high. So they're only skimming the top about 6 inches of water, and I'll control the width of it by placing, some large stones across it, so that the total opening is only about 1 foot wide. And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but maybe something like this is the kind of the narrow point in the pond. Now I was picturing a bridge across to here where we'll put a fire pit eventually. Maybe that looks like some stepping stones that you step across instead of like a constructed bridge. Maybe it looks a little bit more natural. But anyways, so this basically becomes a high point that controls the water height at about 6 inches. Pond gets deeper over here, and it also gets deeper over here. And this basically just becomes a pool where the pump that is sucking the water, down into its little vault to send to a waterfall, to the wetland filter over here, is pulling all of the water that it's getting from the surface of the water in here, and along with it will come any leaves. And as you can see, I'll have a ton of space to collect leaves, and that will just really cut down on maintenance, because with a traditional skimmer you get like a little basket or a net that's pretty small. And if you have any significant amount of leaf drop or whatever into your pond, you have to clean it out pretty frequently. But I'm hoping that with an intake bay of this size, I can go long times. We can go traveling for a little bit, come back later. Really not have to worry about it for very long. Just whenever we get back, just scoop out the leaves that get sucked into this area. And it's a little bit better looking than a skimmer. That's the plan for now. All subjects change, as usual. Changing my mind like every 30 seconds around here. But that is what's going on now.